The stars were not free. Long ago, many believed the galaxy was full of life and freedom, but that dream died when the Eliari came. No one knew where they came from. Some said they were born from dark energy. Others believed they were once like humans but chose to become gods. What was true didn't matter anymore. They ruled, and everyone obeyed. The Eliari were tall, silver-skinned beings with no faces. Their eyes glowed like suns, and they floated instead of walking. Their ships were made of gold and black crystal. They didn't build cities. They built temples in the sky. They didn't ask for loyalty. They demanded worship. Every few cycles, they would visit planets. People bowed and offered gifts. If they were pleased, the Eliari gave light. If they were angry, they gave fire. Whole cities turned to ash in moments. No one escaped. No one resisted. And so the galaxy became silent. But silence does not last forever. On the edge of Eliari space, far from their core systems, there was a lonely place called Sector Null. It was a dead zone. No stars, no trade, no reason to go there. The Eliari called it cursed and told others to stay away. One day, something entered Sector Null. It was a ship, a small one. Old, human. But that couldn't be possible. Humans were gone. The Eliari had made sure of it. A long time ago, before the rise of the Eliari, there was a planet called Earth. It was loud, wild, and full of ideas. Humans traveled, explored, and reached for the stars. Some said they were foolish. Some said they were dangerous. The Eliari said they were a threat. And then, Earth vanished. No one remembered what happened. The records were gone. The only thing left was silence. So when the Eliari listening station near Sector Null picked up a signal, they thought it was broken. The message repeated only 3 words: requesting docking clearance. At first, the Eliari ignored it. Then, they laughed. A human ship? Here? Impossible. But the signal kept coming. Over and over. Calm, polite, requesting docking clearance. The station commander, an old Eliari named Sirith Ka, grew annoyed. He ordered a scan. The scan showed nothing at first. Then something appeared. A black dot in the middle of Sector Null. The shape was wrong. It was not like any Eliari design. No crystal, no shine, just metal. Dull, silent. Sirith Ka blinked his bright eyes and zoomed in. The ship had no name on it, no energy source, no weapons, just a dead shell. Still, it was moving. Slowly, directly toward the Eliari border. Destroy it, he said. The crew sent a drone. The drone flew fast and aimed a plasma shot at the ship. The shot hit, but nothing happened. No fire, no damage. The ship kept moving. Sirith Ka frowned. He sent 2 more drones, then 5, then 10. They all vanished the moment they got near the ship. No explosions, no signals. Gone. Pull all ships back, he said. His crew obeyed. But fear was spreading. The message still played. Requesting docking clearance. Sirith Ka contacted the nearest fleet base. High Commander Luthien Ver responded. She looked calm, but her face was hard. You say it's human? She asked. It appears that way, Sirith Ka said, but it does not behave like a ship. Then it's a trick, Luthien Ver said. Nothing survives Sector Null. Sirith Ka wanted to agree, but something in his mind whispered doubt. I will continue observation, he said. She ended the call. Hours passed. The black ship reached the border. Then it stopped. It floated quietly, no sound, no light, just there, waiting, across the stars. On the Eliari homeworld, the High Council met. They gathered in the Temple of Echoes, a place where voices were stored for eternity. Each counselor was a god in the eyes of the people, untouchable, eternal. But now, they were afraid. The footage from Sector Null was clear. The ship did not belong to them, and worse, it had the shape of ancient Earth designs. This cannot be, said Counselor Virith. Humans were erased. Perhaps not, said Counselor Rytha. Perhaps we only buried them. No race could survive what we did to Earth, said Counselor Quor. We shattered their moon, burned their oceans. But did we search the stars? Rytha asked. Did we look beyond? Silence. Then Virith stood. I will lead the purification fleet myself, he said. One ship does not challenge the gods. The council agreed. Across space, massive golden ships powered up, each one the size of a moon. They headed for Sector Null. On a small moon near the border, a young Eliari soldier named Ilvan watched the sky. He was bored. Guard duty was slow. Then something dark passed above him. No lights, no sound. He blinked and stared. The object landed near the old temple ruins. He ran toward it. As he reached the clearing, he saw it. A black ship. Long. Silent. It looked old, very old, but also new. Alive. He didn't move. A soft voice spoke in his mind. Do not fear. Ilvan fell to his knees. The voice was cold but calm. It showed him images, earth burning, children crying, stars going dark, and then silence. We remember, the voice said. Ilvan gasped. He felt something deep in his body, like a weight pressing on his soul. He looked up. The ship was gone. In 1 second, it had vanished. He called his base. His voice shook. I saw it, he whispered. I saw the ship. What did it do? His commander asked. Ilvan was silent for a moment. Then he said, It remembered us. In the golden void of space, the Eliari purification fleet closed. In thousands of ships, all weapons ready, all sensors focused on one target, the black ship. It floated calmly, still not moving. Fleet Commander Virith watched from his throne aboard the Starlight Divine. He smiled. Prepare to fire, he ordered. Thayu. Crews obeyed, weapons glowed, missiles locked, energy hummed. Fire. A wave of destruction rushed toward the ship and hit. Flames danced, smoke filled the dark, then silence. Virith leaned forward. Scan it, he said. The scans came back. The ship was gone. No debris, no damage, no sign. Then a sound came through the fleet's network, a single word, noted. All ships stopped. All screens turned black. Then the stars disappeared. The stars did not come back. One moment they were shining. The next, gone. Every ship in the Eliari fleet floated in total darkness. No sensors, no lights, no sound. Just black. Total, heavy black. Fleet Commander Virith stood in silence, his glowing eyes flickering. His command ship, the Starlight Divine, was still working, but the galaxy around them had vanished. No signal, no power from the other ships. And then, a single light appeared. A small white dot, just outside the main view screen. It was not a sun, not a flare. It was something else. It was a human, floating in space. No suit, no ship, just a human body, standing in the vacuum, untouched by cold or fire. Virith stepped closer to the screen. The human opened his eyes and smiled. Virith's mind screamed. He turned to his crew. Target it. The weapons officer trembled. We have no power, Commander. Virith slammed his fist down. Find the ship. Find the black ship. Before anyone could answer, a voice echoed inside every Eliari's mind. You burned our home. It was not loud. It was not angry. It was calm. Too calm. We asked for peace. You gave us fire. Suddenly, every member of the Eliari fleet saw images, not on screens, but in their heads. They saw Earth, lush forests, blue oceans, tall cities full of light and music, then fire, the moon breaking, children screaming, humans fighting until the very end. The Eliari had sent the storms. They had dropped weapons that shattered Earth's surface. They had erased the planet from the maps, and now, something had returned. something old, something angry. The Black Ship. On a nearby moon, young Eliari soldier Ilvin stared at the sky. It was dark again. He had seen the ship. He had heard its voice in his mind. Now he felt cold, but not from space. From inside, his bones felt heavy. His heart beat too slowly. He looked at his hands. They were shaking. Not from fear, from guilt. Because, now, he remembered too. He was not alive when Earth was destroyed. It happened many lifetimes ago. But now, through the ship's strange power, he had seen it, as if he had been there. And worst of all, he knew the Eliari were not gods, they were monsters. He stumbled to his feet and ran back to base. Alarms were ringing, lights flashing, officers shouting. No one knew what to do. Half the fleet is gone. We lost the Starlight Divine. Something is breaking into our system logs. Get the council online. Ilvin stood frozen. He felt something behind him. He turned, and there it was. The ship. It had landed again, quietly, outside the walls of the base. It made no sound. No one saw it land. It was just there. Ilvin stepped forward. This time, the voice didn't speak in his mind. This time, the ship opened. A ramp unfolded, silent as breath. Ilvin stared into the dark doorway. Then, he entered. Far away, on the Eliari homeworld, the High Council was falling apart. Councillor Virith's fleet had gone silent. Only one word had come through, noted. Since then, there was nothing. Councillor Raitha looked at the glowing table in the center of the chamber. On it were thousands of red lights. All the border posts, all the scout ships, all the temples in space, all offline. In only 2 hours. Over. 10% of the Eliari network was gone. Erased. Raitha turned to the others. This is not war, she said. Councillor Quor hissed. Then what is it? Raitha stared at the dark ceiling. This is judgment. Inside the Black Ship, Ilvin walked slowly. The air was cold, but he could breathe. The walls were smooth metal, black like oil. There were no buttons, no lights, just strange white patterns moving along the walls like rivers. The voice returned. Why do you serve gods who cannot bleed? Ilvin swallowed hard. I was born into it. I didn't know. Now you do. Ilvin nodded. I saw what you showed me. The fires, the screams. He stopped walking. Why are you here? The ship didn't answer right away. Then the walls changed. Images appeared. Not from the past, from now. Ilvin saw the council chamber. He saw the commanders, the fleets, the temples. He saw systems going dark, one by one. We remember everything, the voice said. We did not die. We waited. Ilvin took a deep breath. Then what do you want now? We want them to remember too. The Eliari homeworld shook, literally. For the first time in thousands of cycles, the planet trembled. Temples cracked. Towers fell. The skies turned red. In the central temple, the High Council was forced to evacuate. Councillor Virith had reappeared, but not in person. His ship, the Starlight Divine. It returned from the void, but it was no longer gold. It was black, burned, black, and it floated above the capital in silence. No engines, no power. Just there, and worse. No one was aboard, not even bodies. Just silence. The council tried to send drones. They vanished. They sent warships. The warships returned. Empty. It was clear. The Eliari had lost control. The people began to panic. For generations, they believed the Eliari were gods. Now, even they were afraid. On the Black Ship, Ilvin stood before a large chamber. Inside were orbs, glowing, pulsing orbs floating in the air. Each one showed something different. A planet, a face, a memory. What are these? He asked. Pieces, the voice said. From the ones who died. Ilvin stared in silence. The voice continued. We do not destroy. We remember. We carry the weight of loss. One orb floated toward him. He touched it and screamed. He was a child, a human child, running through smoke, buildings crashing, mother screaming, fire in the sky, red ships above, Iliari weapons, then silence, darkness, cold, pain, death. Ilvin dropped to the floor, gasping. Tears ran down his silver face. I felt it, he whispered. The voice spoke again. Now you understand. He nodded. I do. He looked up. Is there a way to stop this? Yes. How? The ship was silent. Then, tell the gods the truth, or we will. Ilvin stood. He understood. The black ship was not here for war. It was here for memory. And if the Iliari refused to remember, they would be erased. The golden throne room of the Iliari High Council stood empty. Its walls, once shining with energy, now flickered with fading light. The throne of the High Speaker, carved from star metal and set with sunstones, was cracked down the center. No one dared to sit. Councillor Raitha stood near the broken throne, her eyes scanning reports coming from all across the Empire. Blackouts, disappearing ships, whispers of a human vessel, seen again and again, leaving no trace but fear behind. Entire planets had gone quiet, no signals, no movement. It was as if someone had cut them out of the galaxy. Is it war? Asked a young officer. Raitha shook her head. War is loud. This is cold. She turned to the others. Send a message to every system. We need a full retreat. Bring the fleets home. Another counselor stepped forward. Are we surrendering? Raitha looked around at the falling empire. No, she said. We are begging the stars to let us breathe one more day. Ilvin stood at the edge of a cliff. Below him, the black ship hovered in silence. He had returned to his post on Moon Station. Vera, but he was not the same soldier anymore. He knew the truth. He had seen Earth's end, felt it, lived it. The ship had shown him not only what the Iliari did, but what they had tried to erase. Ilvin looked up as his commander, Saro, arrived. You missed the meeting, Saro said coldly. Ilvin didn't answer. You were with the ghost ship again, weren't you? Saro growled. Ilvin turned. It's not a ghost. Saro's eyes narrowed. You sound like them. I saw what we did, Saro, Ilvin said. We were the monsters. Saro raised a hand to strike him but paused, because the sky had turned black again. Not with clouds, with ships, thousands of them. Black, smooth, silent. They did not fire. They did not speak. They simply hovered, waiting. Saro backed away slowly. What do they want? Ilvin looked up at the largest ship, his ship. To be remembered, he said. On the Iliari capital, panic ruled. Temples that had stood for 10,000 years were burning. Statues of the golden gods were toppled by their own people. In every major city, black drones floated down like falling stars. They did not attack. They did not harm. They simply played images. People saw Earth. They saw humans. They saw the day of fire. Children crying. Mothers running. The sky torn open. Then the silence. Then the black ship. Some Iliari wept. Others screamed. Some dropped to their knees and begged the stars for forgiveness. The gods they worshipped were not gods, they were destroyers. Now something worse had come, not to kill, but to remind. Back at the throne room, Raitha faced the other counselors. She was done pretending. Must speak to them, she said. Directly. Kor laughed bitterly. And say what? Sorry for killing their planet? Raitha nodded. Yes. That's weakness. No, she said softly. That's survival. The room fell quiet. Then another counselor, old and slow, whispered, If the gods have fallen, perhaps we need to become something else. A black ship landed in the main plaza of the capital. The entire city watched in silence. Out stepped a human, not made of fire, not dressed in armor, just human, wearing dark clothes, face calm. He raised his hands and said one word, "Peace." The crowd gasped. He did not shout. He did not curse. He only spoke in a voice full of sorrow. "You burned our home." And then, without another word, he walked back into the ship and vanished. Retha watched from a tower. She whispered to herself, "They're not here to kill us." She closed her eyes. "They're here to make us feel what they felt." Ilven stood before a panel of commanders. He had requested the unthinkable. "I want to go to Earth." The room froze. "But Earth is gone," one said. "No," Ilven replied. "It's sleeping, buried, but not gone." Another laughed. "And why should we let you go?" Ilven raised his head. "Because I carry their memory now. And someone must say it to the stars." He paused. "We were wrong." The panel said nothing for a long time. Then finally one officer stood and gave a silent nod. Ilven boarded the black ship once again. As the ramp closed, the voice greeted him. "You choose the harder path." Ilven nodded. "I must. Then we will take you." The journey to Earth was fast. Too fast. The ship bent space in ways Ilven could not understand. But soon he stood on a world that should not exist. The sky was dark, but breathable. The land was cracked, but slowly healing. The oceans, they shimmered, as if remembering their shape. Ilven dropped to his knees and wept. The voice came again. "This is where we end, and where we begin." Ilven stood. He pulled a small device from his belt. A beacon. He placed it on the ground and spoke into it. "To the stars and to all who hear, this world was not yours to take. You called yourselves gods, but even gods must bleed. I am Eliari. I remember Earth. I carry its pain, and I ask, no, beg, you all, never forget again." In the stars above, the golden thrones of the Eliari Empire turned dark, not from fire, but from truth. Across the galaxy, the black ships disappeared one by one. Not destroyed, just gone. Their message delivered. Their warning spoken. Their memory passed on. The human voice had echoed in every mind. You ruled the stars. But now, you answer to them. The stars had changed, not in how they looked, but in what they meant. Where once the Eliari saw them as symbols of power, of rule, of divine order, now they saw reminders of a mistake. A deep, unforgivable mistake. On over 100 worlds, the golden banners of the Eliari were pulled down, not by force, not by war, but by the weight of guilt. Whispers of Earth had spread, not as a name, but as a wound. A word that carried silence behind it. People didn't shout it. They lowered their voices when they said it, if they dared to say it at all. Earth Rytha stood at the edge of the Great Hall of Origins, the place where the Eliari first wrote their history on massive walls carved in crystal. But something was different now. Lines of new text had appeared overnight, written by no hand, made of light, and in the ancient tongue that hadn't been used in 20,000 years. Her eyes scanned the glowing words. It was not Eliari history. It was Earth's, the fall, the burning of the sky, the last signal. It told of a child holding a burned doll, of a city crushed under silent black wings, of a mother whispering a lullaby in a firestorm, even as her voice cracked. Rytha didn't move for hours. When the hall emptied, she dropped to her knees and whispered, "Forgive us." Ilven walked across Earth step by step. He passed bones buried in ash. He stepped through forests that struggled to grow again, reaching toward a sky that had once betrayed them. But Earth lived. It breathed. Its oceans cried in waves. Its winds carried, voices from long ago, and the black ship watched silently above him. He didn't ask it to leave. He understood now. It wasn't there for protection. It was there to make sure someone remembered. Back on Moon Station Vera, chaos had faded, but fear remained. Commander Cerro walked the halls like a ghost. He had lost his voice, they said. After the black ships appeared, he spoke only once. "We are not gods," he had said. Then silence. Officers came and went, trying to pretend the Empire still ruled something. But they ruled nothing now. Not the stars, not even their own people. Only fear ruled. On the planet Duran, once a proud Eliari colony, a statue of the first speaker was pulled down by children. They laughed as it fell. But when one of them asked what came next, who would lead now, no one answered. The teacher, an old woman, pointed at the sky. "We don't need gods anymore," she said. "We need to listen." Some rebel commanders saw this moment as weakness. They gathered fleets trying to reclaim old power. But every time they prepared to launch, a single black ship appeared. It did not fire. It only hovered. Silent, watching. One by one, the commanders abandoned their plans, not because of fear of weapons, but fear of being remembered the wrong way. The ships had become judgment itself. Ilvan built a shelter on Earth near an old river. He worked alone. He used pieces of stone and metal. He planted seeds he had brought with him. He marked the ground with names, not names of humans, not names of Eliari, but names of moments. First sky, last child, broken doll, the final song. Each marker stood like a gravestone. Each one made the black ship pause, as if it too remembered. One day, Ilvan woke to the sound of footsteps. He turned, ready to speak. But the figure who approached him was human. She looked tired. Skin pale. Eyes sharp, she didn't smile. She sat down beside him. "I was the last voice," she said. Ilvan blinked. "You were on Earth?" She nodded. "I sent the signal." He was silent. "Why didn't you run?" he asked. She looked at the sky. "There was nowhere to run. So I stayed." Her voice cracked. They needed someone to say goodbye. Ilvan didn't speak. He simply bowed his head. "You died," he finally said. She nodded. "Maybe I did." He frowned. "Then how are you here?" She turned her head slowly. "I'm not," she whispered. Then she vanished. Ilvan walked to the black ship. "Was that real?" he asked. The voice answered. "Memory becomes flesh when truth is carried." Ilvan closed his eyes. He understood now. The black ships weren't weapons. They were witnesses. They held every scream, every tear, every laugh of a child who never grew up. The past was inside them, and they were placing it into the galaxy. One system at a time, until no one could say, "We didn't know." Back at the High Council ruins, Raitha held a meeting. Not of politicians, of survivors, teachers, farmers, miners, old soldiers, ex-slaves, anyone who wanted to rebuild, not power, but meaning. She stood before them and said, "The stars are still there, but we do not deserve to lead them. Not yet." A farmer raised her hand. "Then what do we do?" Raitha smiled sadly. "We learn." A new symbol began to appear across Eliari space, a black circle, inside it, a single white star, not bright, not large, just quiet. It wasn't a flag. It was a reminder of Earth, of what was taken, and of what could never be taken again. Ilvan stood under Earth's sky, his hands stained with soil. The black ship hovered above, silent. He looked up and whispered, "You can go now." But the ship did not move. "Why are you still here?" he asked. The voice answered slowly, "Because some truths must be repeated forever." Ilvan sat in silence. He understood. Some wounds never healed. They only taught. In distant systems, children now learned new stories, not about golden gods, but about a blue planet, a quiet place full of sound, a place that sang until it was silenced, and of ships made of black metal that carried no guns, only memory. And in every story, one line returned again and again. They ruled the stars as gods, until one human ship shattered their reign. The galaxy was quiet, not dead, not broken, just quiet, as if every star was holding its breath, as if the universe itself waited for something. After centuries of ruling as gods, the Eliari Empire had crumbled. Their banners were gone. Their fleets were scattered. Their voices, once loud and proud, had grown low because of one ship. A ship without a name. A ship that never fired a single shot. A ship that carried memory and judgment. The Black Ship. Ilvin stood near the river on Earth. His hands were covered in dust. His eyes were tired. But something was different today. The wind was singing. Not a song with words, but something deep. A hum. A feeling. It moved through the trees. It danced across the water. It touched the broken buildings and ruins like a gentle hand. Ilvin looked up. The Black Ship hovered above him. But it was not alone anymore. There were others. 10, 20, more. Dozens of black ships filled the sky like stars of midnight, each one silent, each one waiting. Ilvin whispered, "Why now?" The answer came, soft and slow. The memory has spread. The message is ready. In the stars above, across distant worlds, people paused. On the mining planet Terrene, a worker heard a strange hum in his helmet. On the ocean world of Lysari, fish rose to the surface, swimming in circles as the waves pulsed like a heartbeat. In the spaceports of 5 old colonies, lights blinked in patterns never seen before. In the ruins of the Eliari High Council, a single crystal glowed with golden light, then turned black. A signal was coming, a final one, not from Earth, but for Earth. Rytha stood before the new assembly, a gathering of beings from hundreds of species. Not a government, yet. Just voices. They watched as she placed an old Earth data crystal on the table. "This," she said, "is what we never listened to." She activated the crystal. For a moment, only static. Then a soft sound. A child's voice. "I don't know if anyone will hear this. We waited. We waited so long. We believed you would stop, but no one came. The room went silent. We had songs. We had stories. We had parks and colors and books. I miss colors. Everything turned gray after the fire." Rytha looked away. The voice continued. "I'm not mad. I wish you had known us." Then silence. The message ended. Rytha looked up. "Now, we do," she said. "The assembly voted that day. Not for power, not for territory. They voted for memory. A new law was passed. No planet, no culture, no species could be erased again. Every lost world would be remembered. Every destroyed city would have its name spoken, and above each one a black ship would float, not as a threat but as a vow. Never again. Ilvin watched the black ships as they formed a shape in the sky. Not a fleet, a symbol, a circle. Inside it, a white star, the symbol of Earth's last stand. But now it meant something more. It meant truth. Not the truth of who ruled, the truth of what was lost, the truth of what mattered. Some Eliari still wanted revenge. They whispered in dark corners. We were gods. We were strong. But no one listened anymore. And when a black ship floated above their homes, they hid their faces. Because now to see a black ship meant someone was watching, not as a god, but as a witness. In a small school on the planet Pharos, a teacher told her students about Earth. Why didn't anyone help them? One child asked. The teacher paused. Because we were too proud, she said. We thought they were small. We thought they didn't matter. But they did, the child said. The teacher nodded. Yes, they mattered more than we ever knew. Ilvin placed the final stone in his garden on Earth. It was smooth, dark, etched with 3 words, "We remember you." The black ship above flashed once. Then, for the first time in history, it spoke to everyone across every channel, every frequency, every mind. A voice filled the galaxy. Not loud, but clear. This is the memory of Earth. They laughed, they cried, they loved, they died. And we carry them now, in every corner of the stars, so it will never happen again. Then silence. People wept, not because they were told to, but because finally they understood. The Eliari didn't lose a war. They lost their right to rule, because they had forgotten what it meant to feel. And Earth, small, broken Earth, had reminded them. Ilvin stood under the stars, tears on his cheeks. He had come as a spy, then as a witness. Now, he was something else, a student. He looked at the black ship. "Are you leaving now?" The ship did not answer. Instead, it slowly rose higher into the sky. One by one, the other black ships followed. They became distant specks, then vanished. But the symbol they left behind glowed in the sky for hours. A black circle, and inside it, a white star. Years passed, then decades. Children grew up hearing Earth's story, not as a warning, but as a lesson. People still fought, still argued, still made mistakes, but never again did anyone try to erase a world, because the memory of Earth was too strong, too deep, too loud. On a lonely world near the edge of known space, a boy looked up at the stars. "Do you think Earth will come back?" he asked his mother. She smiled softly. "It never left," she said. The stars had always looked down on Earth, bright, distant, cold. But now, something had changed. Now the stars watched. They did not shine in pride. They listened. On the planet Xynos, once a proud world of the Eliari, statues of their golden gods still stood, but no one prayed anymore. Instead, a new monument had been built, small, quiet, nothing fancy. A black stone, no name, no title, just one sentence carved into it. We saw the fire and we turned away. And beside it, a flower, a Terran flower, red and wild. No one knew who planted it, but it bloomed, every cycle, no matter the weather. Rytha stood at the new council's gathering, not a place of power, a place of memory. All species had a voice, even the smallest ones, even the ones that had once been silent. And in the center of the hall, a chair remained empty, a Terran chair, old wood. Simple design, never touched, never used. It was not a decoration, it was a promise. Rytha tapped the edge of her datapad. "Today," she said, "we vote on access to the Earth Core archives." Murmurs filled the room. The archives were sacred, gift left by the black ships. Inside were stories, sounds, even smells from Earth, the last memory of a lost world. "Why now?" someone asked. "What if they return and—" Rytha held up a hand. "They want us to remember. But not just quietly. Not as guilt. As honor." Ilvin sat alone on a cliff, watching the sky. He had aged, not just in body, but in soul. He had once come to Earth to measure its value. Now he measured the stars by Earth's memory. Behind him, a group of young students approached. They were not from one world. They were from many, different colors, different shapes, all curious. One girl stepped forward. "Are the stories true?" she asked. Ilvin smiled. "Which stories? That one human ship made the gods fall?" Ilvin nodded slowly. "It didn't fire a single weapon," he said. "It didn't shout. It remembered. And that was enough." In the galaxy's old corners, the powerful still gathered, the Zareth Syndicate, the Koroan Circle, the remnants of the Eliari lords, they whispered. They plotted, they feared, Because they knew the stars had changed. No more could fleets erase a planet in secret. No more could empires write their own truth. Because now, the memory ships watched, not to punish, but to witness. Above every important gathering, a black ship floated silently. No words, no weapons, just a reminder. We remember what you forgot. On the moon of Teles 4, a grand performance was held. Not a speech, not a treaty signing, a play. Actors from 20 different worlds. The stage was dark, then soft music. One actor stepped forward. An old man. He began to tell a story. Of Earth. Of a world that had rivers, cities, jokes, and dreams. The audience leaned forward. They didn't cheer. They didn't cry. They listened. When it ended, a single line appeared in the air above the stage. One ship. One memory. Forever. A decade passed. Then another. Children grew up learning about Earth not from fear but respect. Teachers spoke not just of power and politics but of feeling, of understanding, of belonging. One child, born on a floating city above gas planet Inu, asked her mother, "Why didn't they run?" Her mother said, "Because Earth was not afraid of being small. It was afraid of being forgotten." The girl didn't understand. Not then. But later, she would. A signal came one day. Not a warning. A request. From a world that had never known Earth. The message was short. We want to add our memory. It was a simple story. About a village, a friendship, a song sung during harvest. The council voted. And for the first time, the Earth Archives accepted an entry from another world. Not to replace Earth's memory, but to join it. The archives began to grow. Not just Earth's past, but the galaxy's future. Together, Ilvin returned to the ship, the same black ship that had once watched him. He placed his hand on the hull. "I'm old now," he whispered. "You showed me who we were, who we could be." The ship blinked once, not in answer, in acknowledgement. Then, without warning, a door opened. Ilvin stepped inside. No control panels, no weapons, just a room. A room filled with sounds. Children laughing, waves, crashing, wind and trees, voices, Earth's voices. Ilvin sat down and listened. The stars no longer looked down on Earth. They knelt, not in worship, but in understanding. The galaxy had moved on. Wars ended. Borders faded. New systems joined the council. New voices sang in unity. But through it all, one thing stayed the same. That silent ship. It drifted. It watched. It waited. Black and cold as space itself, yet warmer than any sun to those who understood its message. It didn't speak. It didn't fire. It only remembered. And slowly, the galaxy began to do the same. A celebration was planned on Cyros 9. 100 worlds agreed to gather. But this wasn't for trade, not for treaties. It was called the Day of Memory. It was the first time the galaxy would honor a world that no longer existed. A world that had no fleets left, no armies, just stories. The name of the event was simple: Earth Day. Ilvin was no longer seen as an elder. He was seen as a keeper. People came to him for wisdom, not about power, but about purpose. He stood on the great platform built above the clouds of Cyros 9. It looked like a Terran mountain, sharp edges, winds roaring around it. He wore a simple gray robe. On his chest was one symbol, a human hand reaching up, not to grab, but to offer. Across the galaxy, screens turned on, not with flashing lights, not with war banners, with faces, old Terran faces, farmers, dancers, teachers, children playing in fields, waves hitting shores, a dog barking, couple arguing over something small and sweet. Life, real life, and then a voice, not loud, not proud, soft, We were Earth, we lived, we laughed, we lost, but we left behind our light. Ilvin stepped forward. He raised his hands and said just 5 words. Do you remember their name? The crowd answered, whispers at first, then louder, then stronger, like thunder from 100 stars. Earth, Earth, Earth. And above, the silent black ship blinked once, a single pulse of light. Blue, then white, then gone, like a tear from a star. After the ceremony, a child walked up to Ilvin. She had green skin, bright eyes, tiny fingers gripping a toy she made herself. It was a model of the black ship. She looked up at him and asked, "Will Earth ever come back?" Ilvin knelt. He touched the ship in her hand and said, "Every time you remember, they do." Far away in the deepest corner of space, something stirred. No one had seen this system in centuries. A dead sun, cold planets, ruins, Earth's old grave. But now, lights returned, not machines, not beacons, but flowers. Wild Terran flowers blooming from cracks in the metal. No one planted them, no one watered them, but they grew. Somehow, somewhere, the memory had taken root. Back at the council, Raitha stood before a new proposal. Not for war, not for defense, for education. A school built across stars, named the Terran Academy of Memory. Students from every species would learn not just science or strategy, but compassion, empathy, humility, the things Earth had shown by not fighting, by not boasting, by walking away. The council voted. It passed. Unanimously. The first class was small, only 20 students, but their project was big. They created something no one had done in millennia, a full star map based not on conquest, but on stories. Each star had a tale, of kindness, of courage, of loss, and every map began with a single line at the top, inspired by Earth, the lost light. One day a new ship arrived at the edge of known space, not black, not silent. This one was red. Roughed old inside it was a human, an actual human, born far beyond the last records, a child of wanderers. He had no government, no fleet, no title, just a name. Jack. He docked at a listening post near the Orion fringe. The guard stared. "You're human?" Jack shrugged. "Mostly, yeah." They called the council immediately, and when Jack was brought before them, he asked just one thing. "Why do you all know? My people?" Raitha smiled. "Because your people helped us become better." The Terran archives opened a new chamber that day, not for memories of the past, for new ones. Jack became the first human in centuries to walk among the council. He wasn't a warrior. He wasn't a king, but the stars bent gently when he passed, not out of fear, out of gratitude. In the end, the black ship still floats, still silent, still watching. But now across the galaxy, children build toy models of it, not as a weapon, as a reminder that one ship, one voice, one quiet stand can change everything. The stars do not rule anymore. They listen. Because one day a planet called Earth showed them how.